get you out of my mind. I feel love for the first time, and I know that it's true. I can tell by the look in your eyes.
Welcome back, everyone. I hope you enjoyed lunch and are feeling re-energized. So congratulations to the chef. Thank you very much for that. Business agility across industries, across the internet, the continent, is the topic of our next session. And giving us some to how to sustain business agility across the industries are beauty business pioneers. Yeah, the impeccable Christine Korea and founder of Factory, Beryl Ogwal. Welcome, ladies. Joining my Kenyan sisters is South Africa's aesthetic and style maverick, Philippe Mazibugo. Welcome, Philippe. Along with Lebohang Matli. Okay, am I good? You can hear me? Sorry about that. I thought people could hear me. So, as I was saying, joining our Kenyan sisters who've made the trip is South Africa's aesthetic and style maverick, Philippe Mazibugo, along with Lebohang Matli, founder and CEO of Bell Group LLC. Welcome, everyone. So I've just given the teaser of what you do, but if maybe I can just give each of you a chance just to give us a bit more insight in terms of what your business and the work that you're involved in entails. Should we start maybe with Daryl? Okay.
Still on. Hang on. Not. Hello? Can you hear me? Okay, cool. My name is Philip Bongani Mazabuga. I was born in Soweto. What I do presently.
And I think we have to be intentional about supporting each other. And that's what I preach wherever I go. And wherever you see me, you'll see me in an African garb. Because I make sure that whoever is making this outfit is able to take her kids to university, her kids to school. My glasses, my doctor, Spusiso Gomede. My dentist, Sbu Mwabe. My gynae, Nombuso Tetwa. So, ladies, we need to be intentional about supporting each other. And it starts from love. We have to love one another. And I want you to believe that there's African excellence, and you will see it wherever you go. So I just want to say, it's been a beautiful time being here, and I really thank you for empowering us. Thank you for making us grow. In all that we do, we must remember, help one another, lift one another as we go. I'm a banker by trade, but at the moment, I look after the Durban International Convention Center, and I love meeting different people from different spaces. But again, there is only making sure that the people that supplies me, first, are African, and then women. I'm sorry, guys. Men do bring food into the table, but women take care of everyone and the extended families and the people that they don't even know. That's why I make sure that we empower a lot of women. Thank you.
Oh, we just had one last parting shot from the Kenyans, and we'd like to say,
Go
as
ahead,
Kenyans,
yes. You've come far.
to my entrepreneur ladies, open up your mind in terms of your business. Kenya is a place to trade. Kenya is a place to make money. Don't just look at South Africa. Kenya, on the other side, there's Uganda, there's Rwanda, there's Burundi, there's all these other different countries that you can be able to trade in here in Africa. So just in case you're stuck and your products or your business is not working in South Africa, you are welcome to go with us. We will hold your hand, as Carol always does. And we do love to wear, like we are wearing Nana Wax, and we are so happy we are representing. Nana Wax is from Senegal. Yeah, so we were looking for African brands when we were here to buy some outfits, and we always support where we can support. So we are also looking forward to seeing you in Kenya. We can see how we can be able to collaborate. And to you too, my dear. Yeah. So.
Thank you about that. Well, Pan-Africanism, passion, I think that's a great way to wrap up this panel. Thank you very much, everyone. Beryl, Christine, for traveling this far. Thank you, Lebogang. Thank you, Philippe. Power panel. Thank you, everyone. Can we give them another round of applause? That was definitely an energizing conversation. And speaking of things that energize us, our keynote speaker for this year is someone who has championed women's, let me let you pass. Our keynote speaker is someone who has championed women's active participation in the world of business. It is our true delight to introduce to you the IWFSA Vice President and Anglo-American Chair, Nolita Fagote. Let's give her another round of applause while she makes her way on stage. She was sitting in the naughty back corner. Welcome, Nolita.
All by myself and my sisters in the room, I guess. Okay. Can I please get a glass? Wow. Thank you so much for such an inspirational session that we've just listened to. I was sitting right at the back there because I arrived lunchtime, and normally I like arriving quite early. thanks. Sis. I normally like arriving early and get to feel the energy of the people around the room. But then when I arrived, it was lunchtime. And thanks, Carol. And the energy outside during lunchtime was electrifying because obviously the conversations had been amazing and the food was great and everyone is looking really stunning. So thank you for dressing up and honoring today and this particular session that my sister Carol has set up for us for 2021. It's almost like our coming out event for this year because of COVID and having been locked in. So well done. So it's kind of difficult to get going into a conversation like this as a keynote speaker when, just from what I have listened with the last panel, for me, I'm full. I'm enough. I've got enough to digest. And I thought, what else can one say after all the pearls of wisdom that have been shared by our sisters and brother who are actually right in the coal face as entrepreneurs and business people. And so for me this afternoon, as I wrap up the day, I will try and make sure that I connect some of the dots that were raised earlier on this morning as well as this afternoon. So firstly, I would want to acknowledge and congratulate my sister, Ms. Carol Bauer, founder of African Odyssey. I am really, really proud of you, especially for getting us to this session today. Because I know that last year, this was weighing very heavily in your heart. You really wanted us to have a live event and meet face to face. I love your tenacity. I love your commitment. I adore the fact that every other woman that you come across, you see yourself in their eyes and in them, and you are always looking for opportunities to lift them up. So thank you very much for that. And fellow guests and colleagues who are here, I also spent a bit of time on my way here reacquainting myself with the meaning of Odyssey through courtesy of Google, obviously. And it says, it's a long and eventful or adventurous journey or experience. How appropriate, I think, for all of us. Because in the last 2 years, I'm sure in every way imaginable and unimaginable, we have been tested, we have been tried, and we have triumphed, and we have had really eventful life experiences. And because of that, again, this afternoon and today is about honoring and acknowledging those triumphs and the fact that our journey as African women is still yet to flourish more than it has already done. I love the fact that this panel that we had here was Pan-African also, my sister, because we tend to think that if it's not made at home, then it's not real. And I'm talking about home as in the continent. I'm not talking about home as in South Africa. And just the experiences that have been shared do tell us all the time, and it's a good reminder that we are real and we do really have stories to tell and value to add to the whole world. This journey for all of us would be incomplete without each and every one of our personal experiences and lived expressions that we have had in the last year. So thank you very much for sharing. I also want to thank my president of the International Women's Forum of South Africa, Ms. Irene Shanley, in her absence, for graciously allowing me to come in and deputize this afternoon. You know, when you're a deputy, sometimes you get given all the other gigs that no one wants, but this time around, she sent me to the one for the year. So thanks, Irene. The IWFSA is a women's organization mainly made up of members who I always say they have either tasted power, they all either have access to power, or they are great influencers. And because of that, it's also a member organization made out of people who understand the responsibility that comes with access to power and also ability to access power. And for all of us as members, we always say, as those women who have been so privileged to be in the positions that we hold wherever we are in society and business, we make sure that we make a difference. And we are looking always for opportunities to shift the dial when it comes to making sure that women play a meaningful role in the economy and in society. And the IWFSA, as a global international organization, does offer us that platform. And Carol Bauer here is one of our members as well. And we do have close to about 100 members in South Africa, even though we are a global member organization. So it's really, really great to realize that as we, each one of us, think about what can we do differently in the next 20, 30 years, we also think about how do we leverage the positions of influence and power that we hold and that we have access to. The concept of power and influence is something that I know most of us as women, especially women of my generation, had always been very uncomfortable about. From my mother's generation and my generation, I was born in the 60s. So I'm from that generation where when you started mentioning that you were interested or aspiring to do something, it was almost like you were using a swear word, because aspiration and ambition didn't live comfortably with our society for women, especially being a black woman, an African woman. I come from the villages, born in the Eastern Cape, Stutterheim, and growing within that environment and finding my way in the world. I was very fortunate to have been mentored, championed, and also sponsored by women who in their own way had their own journey of aspiration and ambition and wanting to make a difference. And therefore, the commitment that I made, and I know my sisters continue to make, is to say, how do we decode the language of business or the boardroom to be able to navigate our way around to open doors for others, particularly doors and opportunities for those who are not there, for those who look like us, for those who sound like me, who don't have the accent, for those who truly should be sitting at the table. And again, through our various journeys and opportunities, we have had the privilege to do that. I'm pleased that this morning you also got to listen to my sister Unongululeko also talk about her journey, because it's through women like herself and others that we all have been able to know that definitely anything is possible and that we can be in a position to move forward with our aspirations and our goals. So one is always asked the question, how do you play this game? And I say to them, how do you play a game whose rules you don't understand in the first instance? So it's important that we first understand what is at play here. You could be coming in thinking that you are playing soccer, Meanwhile, people are playing rugby. So you need to understand the rules of the game and then decide whether is this the kind of game I want to play. Because you may just not like the rules. Or if it is indeed the kind of game that you want to play, you also need to work out, can I change some of these rules to make sure that they are aligned with who I am, which is about inclusivity and diversity, which is about embracing others and bringing those who are excluded into the game. And so most of you here this afternoon, and I know elsewhere who are watching, are those type of people who say, I want to be in that game. I think I understand the rules of that game, but there are certain parts of that game that I don't understand. And as a result, I want to be a disruptor. And how do I disrupt that game in such a way that then the rules that I introduce change the whole narrative around who is successful in this environment or what success looks like within any given environment. And it's important, and it's an important question that for me over the years I have had to ask myself over and over again, how can I change the game or at least disrupt the game? With mentors and coaches and sponsors, as I had indicated, and many other role models, young and old, it has been able to make some entries into places and spaces that I believe without that support I would not have been able to get into. And therefore, I would like for us to continue to think about wherever we are, because you are entrepreneurs, how can I make a difference and how can I find my way around here and make a difference? Personally, from my own personal story, I always say I'm a closet entrepreneur because I worked for my mother in my mother's shop when I was 8 years old, because my mother was widowed when she was 28 years old, and as the firstborn child in the family, I had to help her in the shop as part of my preparations to go to school. And by the time I went to university, I knew one thing for sure: I didn't want to be an entrepreneur. It's very tough. There's no break. It's a 24/7 job. You've got to be committed, and as all you know, there are so many challenges. But lo and behold, after I finished university, I realized that actually my mother had prepared me to become an entrepreneur, but I was going to choose my space. My space of play would be the corporate environment rather than the entrepreneur in one space like where others operate. And being in a corporate environment, starting in 1990, which is the period I always say it was pre-New South Africa, when I started working, and then I worked throughout post-1994, I have experienced and seen the evolving journey of women in corporate South Africa. And interestingly, you would not be surprised to note that the same principles that you use as an entrepreneur, the same principles that my own mother used in the shop in Stutterheim and my grandmother before, are the same principles of foundations that I've used throughout my journey in corporate South Africa. So some of those I will share with you briefly this afternoon. The first one, as I had mentioned earlier on, is the fact that belonging to an organization like IWFSA, you are with women who have tasted power, or who are in power, or who are in positions of authority. And you understand that with that there comes privilege. And also with that privilege there is responsibility. And you need to leverage that properly. In my own situation, as the firstborn daughter in my home, like in all Xhosa or Zulu or Nguni families, that culture, The firstborn daughter is called Mafungwashe or Mafungwase. And you are always loaded with responsibility, aren't you? If it's not just cleaning and looking after the kids, it's making sure that this one goes to university and school, and you seem to be the one who is going around trying to help support the whole family. But having said that, being Mafungwase comes with a lot of privilege and access, isn't it? You have privilege because you are consulted by the elders when all the other women are not even consulted in your own community. You are even included in meetings where ordinarily they would have said, you are just too young, but they say, come in. So when you sit there as Mafungwase, the question you have to ask, how am I representing my mothers, my aunts, my sisters, those who are not here in this conversation? And that's the responsibility you carry. So when you walk into a boardroom and you come in and you realize, oops, it looks like I'm the only one around here. Where are the women? Where are the black people? Where are the young people? Where are the others who are different? You do that because you have been raised to know that when you have an opportunity, you've got to use it to open up opportunities and doors for those who are not there. So you have to be very intentional about how you use your voice. You have to be very intentional about which battles you choose in the boardroom. Can't be every battle that comes, you are going to be going for it, because you are fighting a war here. And if you are going to be chasing every battle, you will lose energy along the way. So you have to choose your battles and choose the ones that you know you can get not only multiple victories, but also those that you know there are people around the table who may not even be looking like you, but who could be your allies in that particular battle. And for me, that has been very, very useful as part of my journey moving forward. Secondly, your track record counts for something. It doesn't matter what you've done, when you've done it, or where you've done it. Because as we know in our communities and in the townships, people always say, "Wazwangani?" What's your reputation? You know, what are you known for? That's your track record. So if you're not intentional about what kind of jobs you take, when, how do you associate with people, you may actually unintentionally be scoring your own goals here by getting into a situation where before you know it, you have created a track record and a reputation that you do not want. So for me personally, I have intentionally always worked for corporates that I knew had values that were aligned with my own personal values. I've worked for corporates where I have admired the CEOs for living the values of those organizations, because that has given me a sense of comfort of knowing that I can go and challenge my CEO at Woolworths, my CEO at Nedbank, my CEO at Sasol, directly and say, based on the company values and the behavior that I'm seeing, there's an inconsistency that is happening here. Which values are we talking about? And that gives you the safety net to be able to challenge the kind of environments that you find yourself in, and therefore also decide which dance you are going to choose. I have had the privilege of authoring a book called Boardroom Dancing. And many people ask the question, why boardroom dancing of all titles? For me, I said two things. It's about ballroom dancing, which is a very elegant dance move. When you look at ballroom dancing, it's quite elegant. It doesn't matter what it is. It could be the waltz, it could be the cha-cha-cha. Any dance, it's always elegant. But secondly, the fact that you dance different styles depending on the music that is at play that music for me represents the culture that you find in different boardrooms, in different companies. How many of us have been in companies where you go to one department and you say, it feels like I'm in another company. I'm not in the same company, even though we're all under the same name. And then you go to another division and you say, this feels like another company. It's because the culture in the different boardrooms is different. And that culture also influences how people make decisions. It also influences how you now, as a competent dancer, will have to find a way around there. So for me, it was important to understand what is my basic dance step. And I came into the boardroom like all black South Africans of my generation with one dance step that I understood for transformation, and that was the toi toi. But now the question was, how do you toi toi inside the boardroom? In an elegant way, not that toi toi is not elegant, but within the boardroom, it's a confined space. And how do you dance in a way such that you can also disrupt that particular dance and introduce new steps that others can embrace, or that others can even say, we actually want to change the rules. We think we like your dance. So can we start a new dance that will actually take us to the next step forward? So the whole notion and concept around ballroom dancing, it's the decoding of the language of the boardroom and helping people navigate their careers and their lives, basically, based on my life memoir, which was a very difficult thing to do, but I had to do for my nieces, nephews, and grandchildren for the future. And lastly, it's something that we have spoken about here, the ability to reinvent yourself over time and time again. You have to future-proof your career. You have to future-proof your career, learn new language, understand what's the new language that's being spoken in boardrooms. So my basic dance and competence is coming from human resources. I'm a psychologist by training, but over the years I've worked in different industries using that basic foundation of business acumen that I've picked up along the way, including working in my mom's business. But then over and above that, I had to say, what is my unique value proposition that I bring into each boardroom? And the unique value proposition was the fact that I had embraced the fact that I come as a black woman, as an African woman, with an implicit transformation mandate that I bring to the table. So whether you've told me that I'm here for transformation or not doesn't matter to me. I know I'm here because of transformation, and I know I'm here to help you transform your organization. And that's my unique value proposition. And it helps with the conversation, it helps anchor you, it helps create your own reputation, and more importantly, it helps to make sure that you live your principles and your values every day. So I do hope that with what I have shared, you would realize that it doesn't matter where we operate from and the kind of environments that we always are working in. The point is, you know what, for your own personal growth and development, always open yourself up to opportunities to learn more, to be more, to do more, and more importantly, to remember that there's enough room at the top for all of us, and all we need to do is just to make the space or find the space or find one way or the other to make sure that women and black people and those who are in the minorities in any situation are represented and well represented by you being part of that particular engagement. Thank you once again for making me part of this session. Have a good day.
Sorry, I forgot that you're supposed to switch it on. This was precisely the message that we needed. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, Nolita Fakude, the Vice President of the International Women's Forum of South Africa. Thank you. Before we let you go, you will be having a session with Shirley, but we wanted to say thank you from our sponsors, Lancome, who were really, really pleased to hear that you were here. Shirley's supposed to be doing this with me, but I'll do the handover. Unfortunately, Yumna couldn't be here, but I'd like to just hand this over to you as a gift from Lancome to say thank you for giving us this beautiful message. And from Bosch & Dahl, Shirley, what are we handing over from Bosch & Dahl? Which one is this?
The Brut Rosé.
This is the Brut Rosé, which is absolutely appropriate as they're celebrating 40 years. Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much. And we have a beautiful magazine for you from Wanted Magazine. Each of our guests today are getting a copy. All of you have your own copies. It's a wonderful, wonderful copy with a new editor, of course. And we'd also like to send you home with a notepad from a black-owned business in the beauty space from the township of Katlehong. Unfortunately, I don't have it with me here, but we will hand it over to you. Sis Nolita, you have built women over the years from your days at the Black Management's Forum. You have done this consistently over the years, and from your days also at Cecil, Woolworths, you name it, every corporate that matters in South Africa has had your stamp. Thank you for everything you've done for us. Thank you for making us feel seen, for making us aspire for better. Siyabonga that you've come to speak for us today. Ngiyaleboga. Ndiyabulela mtase. I'll put it back in. Yes. We're not supposed to be hugging, so if you filmed that, COVID protocol observed. Thank you. I'll put this back and I'll take it for you.
Thank you. Let's keep this here. Not yet, no. Ms. Fakude, I think I speak for everyone here that you embody everything that is elegance, wisdom, success. And it is such a privilege for us to have you with us today. And I would like to beg a few more minutes of your time, if I may.
Thank you, Shirley. I thought I was escaping this one, but we can sit down or stand. Tell me how you want to do it.
I actually would love to give the opportunity to the ladies on the floor, if I may. I think what we have to learn from you is just, we don't have enough time, but I would like to at least have a couple of questions, if we may. Fantastic, thank you. Can we assist with mics, please? I'm going to go to my beautiful friend Koleka, because I was not permitted an extra question with the last round. So I'll give her the floor for this first question.
Thank you very much. Sis Nolita, I actually think it's appropriate for me to ask this question, especially you spoke about it, and I think you have an HR background. In my work around inclusion and equity, especially around women or for women, one of the things that I find to be a real stumbling block, especially in corporate, is culture. And the fact that culture is really a big problem, because you find corporates that want progressive, creative, free-spirited talent, and they go out and they look for this talent, and when the talent gets into their organizations, now it's like, whoa, we actually don't want this, we want robots. We want people that are same as us, who think like us, who, you know, and it becomes a problem, and then you find that this talent is disillusioned or discouraged and eventually ejected from these organizations. And how can we move away from culture being as highly elevated as it is in terms of how you are able to navigate an organization or move upward in an organization, but just maybe focus on values, because values are very clear cut on the behavior, the conduct, or what the output or, is supposed to be. And then you just allow individuals to freely exist, but within certain parameters, expressing their individualism, bringing in their culture, their background, and I don't know.
My sister, thank you very much for asking that question. You actually are describing very, very vividly the organizations of the past, the organizations that will not survive to see even the next 20 years globally and also in South Africa, if there are organizations still that do not fully appreciate the importance of enabling different cultures, because culture has got many dimensions. So when I'm saying different cultures, I mean now in terms of race and religion, ethnicity, but organizations that do not value and embrace diversity will not see the future. So, and diversity in all its dimensions, because diversity is not just about race or gender. You can have all the racial diversity you want, as in black and white, in a South African situation, but if the kind of values, principles, and behaviors that are being exhibited by the employees and leaders of that organization are not aligned, then you are wasting your time. So I always say the important part to measure about any organization is to observe how the leadership of that organization allow themselves to be vulnerable, to be open enough to be challenged by people within their organization. Challenged not only in terms of their own behaviors, but challenged also in terms of how do you allow young people, black people, different thinkers to come into your organization and add value and thrive. And if an organization with a leader who is culturally sensitive and culturally mature will open up that organization and allow everyone to thrive. But it's a very difficult space to hold as a leader of an organization, because it means you need a thick skin. You need to be able to accept that someone is going to tell you that you don't know what you are doing, or sometimes they will tell you that even though you may have been here for the last 25 years, you've messed up this company, I can tell you how best to do it. But if you're a mature leader and also appreciate the value of different opinions and perspectives, you will take that as part of your toolkit to help you unlock opportunities for your business that you may not have even realized had you not been open to those processes. So the long and short for me is always saying to my peers who are CEOs or chairmen, women, men of boards and organizations, that the best thing you can do for yourself and your shareholders and your organization is to be accessible and vulnerable, so that you can be able to understand and listen fully and fully understand what people are saying or even not saying in your organization.
And I think you just touched on that. It's what people are not saying that is often the root of where amazing potential is sitting. Would you mind if we take 2 more questions? Fantastic, thank you.
A very quick one. Sis Nolita, hi. My name is Vatiswa, and I'm so glad that I'm in this forum where you actually explained the boardroom dancing, because I don't have your book yet. I will definitely go and buy it, because the concept, I think, of the dance, without having seen it or read it, one wouldn't have thought of that. I'm actually hoping that we would have another version of a dance for business women? Because I think that would be, in as much as you said that we can apply the principles even outside of that, but I think as businesswomen, it would be such a powerful tool to have a version of the dance from an entrepreneurial point of view, because as women, I think in corporate there is a commonality of how, the structures, corporates have got structures, but if you're an entrepreneur, you're coming from outside, you need to understand then the structures that you don't know of the business, and then the entry into those different structures or the dances in order for you to actually, have a sustainable business and understand your client. So we're looking forward to another something dance for women in business. Thank you, Susie.
I support that, yes, please. I think we had one more question in the back, if you don't mind. There was a lady with her hand up. There we go. Thank you. I know there's so many questions. Unfortunately, we do need to kind of try and keep to the schedule. So we'll take one more.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Dr. Timbani Mentor. Mam Nolita, I'd like to ask a tricky question. So we're all here to sort of encourage one another and mobilize, and we're all going to leave with the spirit of, okay, I'm now going to try to introduce this new dance in the space that I'm in. And you spoke about women in families, and I have to say, older sisters are the backbone of society. Someone had to say it. But you'll find, I'll make an example, I'm here with Ipeleng. We are now in the boardroom with Ipeleng. My sister does not want to be mobilized, or she is aware of our agenda, but is sort of riding on me to carry out that agenda because I seem to be the radical one, or the one who's in the forefront, or the one who's vocal. So at what point am I sympathetic? At what point am I being taken advantage of? At what point do I draw the line? Set up a boundary to say, I can take you with me, but only this far. Thank you.
Good question.
Very, very appropriate question, Dr. Beto. Thank you. And Vatiswa, I would link the two responses because maybe somewhere in the book you will find some stories that talk to the fact that, like in any life situation, when you are going into war, you choose who you go to battle with. So if you're picking up a team to work for you, it could be 3 people, it could be 10, but you look at people whose skills are going to be complementary to what you have. You look at people who are going to be able to buy into your vision and also support you in your vision. And the question often is, then what happens to those who are not on the bus? Because often you can share the vision and the values and have the conversation and hope that everyone is aligned. And only when you are on the battleground, you realize that someone is not speaking the same language that we spoke when we were preparing to come and deal with these issues. And at the end of the day, it's all about our styles. What is your style of management, of leadership? Is it the kind of style that you're going to be saying right at the battle, hey, clap you off, or you are going to say, I've got to wait a bit and see how best we navigate out of this one, but when we get back to the ranch, we're having a conversation. And just in terms of choosing the battles, when I'm saying you choose your battles, I literally mean you choose your battles every day as a woman leader. Whether you're in the private sector or business, you're making choices because the situations you are dealing with are such that you have to decide which value now is consistent with who I am. And no one in a crisis, the true self comes up. So that's why it's important that you build everything you do on your values, so that even though you may be changing the rules and disrupting the dance, or even saying, you are not the kind of person that I want to be part of going forward, you are doing that from a values-based perspective, and also from a perspective that you know and understand that there's a common shared purpose that you have with this person. You may agree about the what needs to be done, but it's just a question of the how. You are not agreeing on how to get there. And there's nothing wrong in saying to someone, you know what, we are not aligned about how we need to go to Cape Town. We have agreed that we are going to Cape Town, except that you want to go to Cape Town via Durban. Meanwhile, from Joburg, I think the shortest route to Cape Town and the most effective one is to go via East London, whereas somebody else may have a different process. So it's that culture, it's creating that culture again of continuing to be open and asking people, how best do we solve this situation? What problem are we solving for, and who's got the best skills to solve what we need to solve? So when you go back and you talk to people and you realize that these people may say, yes, I've bought into the vision and also what you stand for, but they may not necessarily be reflecting what you want to see, especially for a family or personally owned business. Same even in a department. When you're working with people in an organization, you have to have those hard conversations at some point. Lastly, I know, Cheryl, I may be kicked out of here.
No, you can carry on as long as we'll stay.
But thank you. I talk about the fact that as women, we bring different styles to every conversation. So I say we've got 5 pairs of shoes. At least for me, I've got 5 fundamental pairs of shoes. And those pairs of shoes, depending on where I'm going, I put them on. So the first pair of shoes is the high heels that are going to make sure that I can stand shoulder to shoulder with my male peers and others wherever I am. The second pair of shoes that I have are sneakers to make sure that I'm agile when required and I'm able to run and do the things that need to be done. The third pair of shoes is a pair of boots, the ones with the working boots with spikes, to make sure that if needed, I can kick butt to get things done. And the fourth pair of shoes that I bring, it's a pair of sandals with flowers and bubbles and whistles. And that's for me to always remember not to take myself seriously and know that I'm a woman and I embrace that feminine side of myself. And the last pair that I bring is a pair of slippers so that I can also be able just to relax and walk around comfortably so. And when required, I even walk barefoot so that I'm able to keep myself grounded. But it doesn't mean that I'm a different person.
I absolutely love that. And I think we can all now have a justified reason to go buy 5 new pairs of shoes. Ms. Lakuda, thank you so much for your time, for sharing your wisdom with us. And I am, for one, going to go and get that book and read it for certain.
Thank you so much. And again, it's good to see you.
You
and
too.
It's great to see the work that you've been doing
Thank you.
at Boshendal. And congratulations on the 40th anniversary.
We really appreciate that. Thank you so much. I think, the day has been full, and I've been taking little notes and bits and pieces, which I'm sure you all have too. I want to add one little thing, which sits quite close to my heart, and I just love sitting up here and looking at the diverse audience that we have today. Women, no matter what race, religion, together, we are so much stronger than any challenge that come in front of us. And I want to encourage you in your groups at home, at your groups at work, make sure that those groups are diverse and you have women from all walks of life. Because what we can teach each other, we can't learn that anywhere else. I have seen personally, my little 7-year-old has a little friend at school. I'm not going to say her name in case this goes out, but let's call her Tembi. And I have tried repeatedly to have a play date with the two of them. and her mom declines to answer. And that for me is an opportunity missed for my child to have a rich friendship and to learn from her family life and to just grow as human beings together. So I want to encourage you to take that on board as well, because each and every one of us has something to teach someone else. Whether they are the same color, different color, it doesn't matter. So make sure that those groups are diverse as you can get them, and your life will be richer for it. Thank you. That being said, we are going to have our next panel soon, but I think we are going to pump the music, and we're going to have a little bit of a dance, because we need to just shake it out. If you need to run to the bathroom, do so super quick, and then we'll start with the next panel. Thanks.